Okay, it is March 20th. It is 9:25. Our topic is euthanasia should be legalized. On the right, we have our government. On the left, we have our opposition. 3 minutes maximum speaking time. And here we go. Prime Minister, please rise. And you may begin in 3, 2, 1, go.
To my honorable judges and fellow debaters, this House strongly believes that euthanasia should be legal. I am the Prime Minister and I will be talking about the moral duty of a human being, that is to relieve another when being exposed to excessive amounts of pain. And the government and the Deputy Prime Minister will be talking about the rights that individuals have to choose. And the government will be talking about the financial burden given to the families, which is added to physical pain inflicted upon a patient that makes the equivalent of everyone being miserable. Now, firstly, I would like to reveal the definition in the proposition. Euthanasia applies to the following circumstances: when the doctor recommends strongly for the patient to take euthanasia, and most importantly, when the patient is suffering from incurable, painful diseases, and he or she agrees to be subjected to professional assistance. Now I'll start my point. I strongly believe that euthanasia should be legal because the individual who is suffering has the right to choose his life, and the patient is suffering so bad, it will be more comfortable for the patient.
PY?
No, thank you. Now think, your grandfather is having a really heavy cancer. He cannot move or do anything. Moreover, he wants to lose his special life than just lying down, suffering, and just waiting for death. It is hard to admit, but what I'll be telling you is true. Your grandfather I mentioned before are crowded in the hospice, just waiting for death. Life doesn't mean anything for them, and they're looking forward to death. They're suffering so much, doing nothing. I can't believe that such people just watch these people suffer. I can't believe they are not respecting the patient's rights and helping their own wish, their desperate wish to die. I can't believe that such people think the patients who are so sick, they're willing to die. The sick patients with cancer have the rights too, and they're suffering so much, they're ready to risk their life. They're not afraid of death, but the seconds, minutes, hours, days passing is more painful and more deadly for them. We should respect the patient's rights and release their suffering for their own good sake, and the people whose heart are for them. My honorable judges, I end my time.
All right. Chris, good job. 30 seconds and go. Yeah, we have just gotta reintroduce the yeah. She's first place.
Even like sick people still have to it is a process made natural psychology wants to
when you want to predict it.
later
Time. Leader of opposition, please rise. Leader of opposition, you may begin in 3, 2, 1, begin.
To my honorable judge and fellow debaters, I am the leader of opposition, and today I would like to talk about the invasion of human rights. With euthanasia should be legalized. First, I will rebut the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister said that they have no hope of life, but even some people have a hope of life, and it's a natural psychological happening that you would want to live.
For information.
No, thank you. You are back from your home and your now. Today, I would like to talk about the invasion of human rights. Next to me sits the deputy leader of opposition, who is going to talk about the decreased will towards life, and the oppositional whip will like to blow this debate with the opinion that if a person is sick or ill, that they can make a wrong decision. Now I would like to talk about my argument. First, I'll set you one setting. You're back from your home and your grandma who lived with you is suddenly gone. You asked your mom where your grandma is, but she said that she just died because she felt bad for your family and felt like a burden. How would you feel? Would you like the idea of euthanization still? And first, human rights. Is human rights something that is forced by people? It's like a remote that can switch minds when you don't like this opinion? No, it isn't. It is something that a person being can decide. It is our choice. But let me set you on another setting. You are sick and old, but you don't really have a mind of dying or assisted suicide. But a doctor said that you should because there's the age and there's nothing to do. No, thank you. Forcing you to let him or her help you kill yourself. This is invading the human rights. Yes.
The government has stated the definition of euthanasia when the patient is suffering from incurable painful diseases and when she is agreeing to the subjected of professional assistance. But you're talking about just a doctor saying that you have to give euthanasia to the patient.
But I will say that I will further explain that there are other people in your family that can also tell you to do euthanization. Now back to my point, and this is invading the human rights and not letting you make your own decision. Even your family. Your family can even let you, because you are a bit old and this is a bit painful, you should get euthanization. If I was smart, I would say that I would have my own human rights and I can have my own decisions. This is our own body and we choose to have human rights and if you're going to euthanize us, this is our own body and we choose if you're going to euthanize ourselves. Remember, thank you. You only have one life. You wouldn't want to die because of a forceful opinion that invades your human rights of the doctors and families. I wouldn't want that. Now I will go on to my conclusion.
I'm gonna have to stop you there. We are a bit over time, 3:30. Good job, Sarah. Andy, what POIs did you have?
Mostly about definitions and emotional appeals and hypothetical settings and
No, guys, that's fine. Listen now. Sarah, what you did was you strategically, this wasn't an accident, this was strategic to deny all of them from Andy, right? It's a strategy. Now, Chris, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but what's important is this communication flow because your team should know she's not going to take them from Andy. No matter how good they are, they're not going to take them from Andy. But she will take them from you, in which case you write them down and you pass them down to her, or you need to have some nuncy with Andy to know what's going on, so that way you can POI. That's Sarah, great strategic move to just be like, I'm not going to, if you know you can't answer it, don't take it. But at the same time, you got 3 strikes for not taking them. Andy, you got 3 checks for offering them. And then Sarah, Chris, you got a check for coming back and taking it. And then Sarah, you responded to it. So it was a really good play altogether. I love the defense and the offense in that interchange.
And if you guys know that she's not going to take Andy's, and like you both kind of like notice a point that you can't POI, you can just make eye contact or something. I'll do it.
One more thing about the imagery of the grandmother. I think I know why it doesn't stick. My grandmothers are all dead. Is that funny? Why is everybody laughing that my grandmas are dead?
Sad. So sad.
Okay, so we can go ahead and change this ranking now. No, I didn't really know my grandma. She had 3 strokes, and then my other one was crazy alcoholic. So, no skin off of my nose. But when you say grandmother, for me, it's like, whatever. Why are we talking about grandmas? It doesn't...
Stealing at me though.
Yeah. On the other hand,
Yeah. very close with my grandma.
And that's why you need to know and read your judge. You know, if you know that there's a big point about that at the beginning, maybe you'll go and get chummy with your judge. Be like, hey, judgy, how's your mama? How's your Oh, I have no mama. Oh, okay, good. Gonna rewrite my script now. But you will need to know that different judges judge differently. Everyone listen and repeat. Euthanasia.
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 Euthanasia?
Euthanasia. And the verb is euthanize. Euthanize.
Euthanize.
Euthanize.
Euthanize.
Hey, youth, young people in Asia. Youth and young people, euthanasia, and then euthanize. Okay? You gotta remember it. Okay, 30 seconds.
Euthanasia.
Well, her argument
so-
in the first place didn't match our definition in the first place. Like, they talked about how yeah, because we
It'll get there.
specifically
Yeah.
focused
That's-
on
that's,
the
hopeful.
independence of the decision. While
And even
they,
remember, even
they
just
wanted
you
it-
know this would have been the situation. And I think it's important to reiterate
I
that.
don't know. This
And time. Guys, remember Joseph and Andy, and in that last situation, Tony. You guys are the coaches. If you're there at the end, I don't think I'm allowed to sit there and make faces and POI here, POI right here. Listen, what he's saying? What is he talking about?
I'd love to get some
Coach.
some baseball signals.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk to the administrator as well, because real debate coaches can talk with their team in between during the break times. I think no one does that because no one really has anything to say. But since we're considerably more competitive, I'll see if I can make eye contact and be like, right here, people. You know, if I can make some faces. you guys-
POI, like,
Um,
that's POI.
the problem is in the final round when there's like 300 people behind you.
Yeah, it's
It's like, man, his ear must be really itchy. He should be using some head and shoulders. All right, here we go.
Maybe you can just stand up and suddenly dance it then.
That won't be conspicuous at all. All right, Jenny. Excuse me, the deputy leader, deputy prime minister. Begin in 3, 2, 1, go.
To honorable judge and fellow debaters, this House believes that euthanasia should be legally allowed. I am Deputy Prime Minister. Firstly, I want to leave us Operation Side. Leader of Operation Side that having no hope of life is natural physical mind, but this is she doesn't have no evidence. And there is also no evidence for doctor's first month. Even yes.
This is an impromptu debate, so we don't have any evidence.
Pardon?
This is an impromptu debate, so we are not supposed to have any evidence.
Well, I think even she did not give reason why they were treated like that, so I can't accept your ideas. And also, in addition, her arguments did not match to our definition, and she used too many appeal to emotion. To remind the audiences, Prime Minister talked about the moral duty of a human being that is to relieve another when being exposed to excessive amounts of pain. And to continue arguments, I strongly believe euthanasia should be legal because individuals have a right to choose. Whether surrounding people opposite or agree, a particular person has right to decide him or her life and death. Even family, friends, or doctors can help or encourage patients to do something. Euthanasia is decided by mind of patient, as the patient is not slave or possession of other. Therefore, countries should not prevent their decision by using law, as well as human rights is decided by law. And to conclude, I am in position to claim that all individuals have right to pick their death. And I can't understand why opposition side is disagreeing with assisted suicide. Even the poor and sick patient wants it. Mr. Speaker, I yield my time.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Actually, the first thing is just stating the proposition. So you can tell me the government totally does not have rules of treatment. She said illegally allowed.
Okay.
So you can say that. So you can does not have the knowledge to come to these propositions.
Yeah.
And we would like to all open
Rock, paper, scissors,
debates
rock, paper, scissors.
more prepared.
Very fair.
You know what I throw at the kids? You know what I throw at the kids?
And you have to tell the
Like,
reason, okay? You just can't say that.
and they're like, you know, if it's paper, I'm like, no, it's scissors. And but if it's rock, I'm like, no, it's paper. But then if they throw scissors, I'm just like, oh, scissors. Oh, scissors, do it again.
That's
You give like
hilarious.
5 seconds.
I was
We'll get
doing
to
Joey trivia on the rock, paper, scissors, fire.
Oh, fire, yeah.
And then they do it, and then rock, paper, scissors, water.
I one
And
kid today, I
needle
was
is
doing
here and
that,
you just
and
turn up.
so she caught on, so she just kept throwing
This is
scissors, and then I just threw rock.
Like,
Is that what you can catch on scissors?
Yeah,
That's right.
like she just kept doing it, she's like,
it's like if
and then I was just rock.
Oh. All right. Deputy Leader of Opposition, please rise, quiet in the court, and you may begin in 3, 2, 1.
My Honorable Judge and fellow debaters, I am the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Before I start my argument, I would like to rebut the Deputy Leader of Government's joyful struggles. Well, first she said the proposition as illegally allowing. Well, this is proof that she has no knowledge of the proposition, and she would like her to respect the debate and prepare better. And also, the Prime Minister said the example of the cancer in the grandfather, that was good, but not everyone fears living. And also, if corruption happens, well, corruption always happens between the family and the doctor. A person who wants to live his last month, no thank you, euthanasia can help him. Now I should state my argument. I should talk about how the legalization of euthanasia will decrease the will towards life. First, what is suicide? Well, it is obvious. It is trying to kill themselves. And what causes it? There can be many diverse reasons, from stress, from peers, financial problems, or breaking up with a loved one. People who experience this experience fear, experience hate, experience loneliness. No, thank you. And when these feelings becomes too great, they might think of the reasons worth living and the reason not worth living. Some of them might decide better, trying to get up, trying to live.
And their reason,
Yes.
they don't have a reason to live because they are just sick, and then they cannot do anything. They just live for death. So they're waiting for their death.
Some of them might want to live their last week on earth. But some people don't think so. They're tired, not just of living, but of existing. Tired of being themselves. Some of them might have a good reason. But what if someone has a stupid reason to die? For example, there has been a suicide lately of a young woman who went to a TV program which treated their partners. However, she didn't get picked by any of the men. She suicided a few days later.
Point of information.
Yes.
But the individual's right to choose, we have to respect the individual's right to choose. But you are not respecting the right to choose.
What is the question?
We have to have the right to choose.
That is not in the form of a question. Now I should continue. However, she didn't get picked by any of the men. She suicided a few days later. Do you think that is a good reason to dump their lives? You are lucky because you don't fear violence every day. You don't have water, food, house, and can read. But most importantly, no, thank you. You are lucky.
You have to take us. Andy, go ahead.
Can you clarify what your argument in the end is?
Yes, so I'm saying that if euthanasia is legalized, anyone could lose their will to live. But most importantly, you are lucky to be alive. If we allow euthanasia to be legalized, anyone could lose their will to live. Mr. Speaker, I yield my time.
All right. You were lucky to be alive. That's something my mom told me so many times when I was in trouble as a child. You're lucky I don't kill you right now. Andy, if no one's taking those POIs, write them down and pass them to your team.
Yeah, like I tried to do that, but like after I voted,
Yeah.
it was
next
to the
point.
next.
The time is
Write it just in a single
And
word
not
if
try to
possible.
do it always days through the field.
That's
You can
fine.
just, you know,
Andy.
30 seconds.
you can just write like, you know, definition.
It's okay.
Like maybe if they're missing the definition or something like
There
that.
you go, there you go.
Is there another debate after this debate?
No.
POC you have to.
Yeah.
PY you have to. But POC. Yeah,
I taught them the
there was
English Sign Language alphabet. I'd like to tie some. Even just if we have like A, B, C, D, E, F,
Yeah.
some basic audibles that we could come back.
PY. Sorry, I cannot do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like just something like right there for our. But how nice does that look? Have a whole coordinated team.
Really?
Okay, time.
Fun thing.
Government whip, please rise. Please don't hit the desk. Please don't stare at me like a red dot sitting on the end of a CCTV. That wouldn't make me very comfortable, I admit.
It's still definition of freedom.
All right, you may begin. Government whip in 3, 2, 1, begin.
Mr. Speaker and fellow debaters, I would like everyone to applaud for the opposition for they have convinced me completely. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they have convinced me about this debate, but that the fact they have completely turned a blind eye to simple common sense. We are fine here to pioneer a better path for society, so I am sorry to say that the opposition has utterly failed in this function. Before I go on, I would first like to dissect the opposition's most recent attack laid upon common sense. The deputy leader of opposition has clearly stated that her argument is that euthanasia deprives them of their will to live. However, this argument has completely neglected the government's definition that is heavily based on the fact of heavy independence towards the decision of euthanasia. Now, to elaborate on the government's last argument, that is to nail this debate. The financial burden given to the families added to physical pain inflicted upon the patient makes the equivalent of everyone being miserable. It cannot be more obvious that millions, even trillions of dollars are annually added to debt.
Point of information.
No, thank you. Due to incurable diseases. This amount of money is more than enough to devastate another man's life to smithereens. Would this patient agree to euthanasia, waiting in his deathbed, want this? Will he want to cause pain and agony to his loved ones till his no thank you last moment in his moment of his last breath? Furthermore, the excessive amount of pain inflicted upon the patient is another factor that cannot be easily disregarded. Every extended minute of his painful, miserable life will cost money and stress to his loved ones. For these people, this will be invited. This will be a new start, not something to be feared and avoided. To make a long story, no thank you. To make a long story short, the patient's family pays money to see him being tortured in pain. I would like to again beg the question of common sense. I would like to summarize the point of the government. The Prime Minister has stated that individuals have a right to choose. The Deputy Prime Minister has stated that the moral duty of a human being is to relieve another when being exposed to excessive amounts of pain. And I, as a government whip, have stated the financial burden and the effects that it inflicts on these patients. Now we, the government, have obviously won this debate because we have superior logic. Because firstly, the opposition has depended heavily upon emotional appeals while we have stuck to hardcore logic. And also, while the opposition has completely neglected and disregarded the definition of having euthanasia, the choice of euthanasia being heavily dependent on independency, they have completely ignored this fact. In fact, the Prime Minister, the leader of opposition on the opposition side has even stated their arguments as opinions rather than cold facts. Now, a person's last moment is very possibly his most dramatic moments in his life. For example, I myself would want to rest in peace rather than see the tears streaming down my wife's face. Common sense. Banning euthanasia neglects human rights whatsoever. For the last time, I would like to emphasize the fact of common sense. Bequeathing the finale to the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, out of my time.
It's like going to a concert every time.
Sorry, I can't do this.
Encore! Okay, 30
I'll just
seconds.
stand up and say something.
30 seconds. Oh! Before we take that 30 seconds, listen. When Andy shuts down POIs, it's authoritatively. When every single one of you, when you say no to the POI, you get either interrupted or distracted or offended. When Andy Go does it, he's still completely in charge. Now, it's not about the word, it's not about the tone, it's about the confidence. John, when you do it, you just seem like this is really, I don't mean this in a mean analogy, but I'm picturing like a computer programmer with some girl coming by and being like, hey, it's like, go away, I'm programming, I'm playing Counter-Strike, leave me alone. Tony, you get just angry and belligerent. Actually, you get sassy. Joseph, you get belligerent. Tony, when you say no, you just no. It's very, very simple and very still respectful. So, model that. Joseph, you're the first person who gets a chance to do that. 30 seconds, go.
I don't even have enough time to
Okay.
I don't have even time. I have to like clear out what I wrote. That's
Rock, paper, scissors. Truly, it doesn't make a difference.
only this.
So like POC and POI is different things. POIs are when you go.
I really want
Yeah, so they can't reject POC. So if you
Dude, it's fair play, man.
include an element, especially with Andy, of
nice.
But you can act
like sitting down like on the edge. Do you ever watch Community?
Yeah.
You know how he kind of just has that kind of like sexy presence aura. He's just like, it's like, it's like, let me just be honest with you. Like things like that. Like I'm sure there's some way to wiggle that.
If I answer well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Winger. All right. Government. This is still recording. We got that. All right, government whip, opposition whip. You may rise. Quiet in the court. You may begin in 3, 2, 1, go.
My honorable judge and my fellow debaters, again, close your eyes. Imagine morphine, poison, medicine flowing through your veins, melting into your blood. If you try to run away from your illness, but at the end of the road, the way you chose awaits that. The total end, a cliff leading into rocky valleys. Is that what you wanted? To my honorable judge and my fellow debaters, I am the weak, the final speaker of the opposition. And this House still firmly believes and is still unconvinced that euthanasia should not be legalized. And before getting into anything important, I would like to talk about what the government has stated. First, in referring to their definition, they did not state how the euthanasia will be. Therefore, euthanasia could be a painful process as well, as to die is always hard, and as the medication will be painful, putting poisons and medication into your veins.
Point of information.
No, thank you. Also, according to Prime Minister arguments, we can refer to Tunnel syndrome, which is a syndrome that you will find only one way through, death. And in this case, by only fixing the tunnel syndrome, we can make the person see a brighter life, brighter world, and give them a new hope, a new life.
No clarification.
Yes?
What is this syndrome?
This is a syndrome to believe that there is only one way out of this situation. Also, doctors with if you look at our leader of opposition's argument, doctors with evidence might try to pursue you for euthanasia, as the government has stated.
Information.
Clarification?
Information.
No, thank you. There is not much space in hospital, the doctors might also suggest euthanasia. Now, also the government have stated in arguments first, if I want to strengthen the Prime Minister arguments, people's arguments can be again forced. And in this case, arguments that are forced will be known as the actual argument given by the person. And there were already many examples, historical and basic life agreements where decisions change under pressure of gun, knives, and power. And this is not the true justice. This is not the way the law must be done. Also, if you look at the deputy leader of opposition's argument, It is human psychology to be inclined to grab dangerous chances if it is given to you and allowed to you when it is kept, but in contrast, when it is kept from away from you, won't be used. And we believe basically having them to lose the wheel of life will change the form one, possibly decreasing the hope of chance of recovery. Now, yes?
Is the government aware that, is the opposition aware that the proposition is based upon heavy independency of the police?
But we still believe that this is a very important factor, even considering the ideas you stated. Well, most of the seriously ill people who would like to choose euthanasia suffers from dementia and Alzheimer. These diseases and all the pains that could be there affect your psychological process, preventing you from having a normal psychological arc or a rightful decision. And giving one, the one with danger of making a wrong choice, shouldn't be given a chance of suicidal, since it's just like heading a fish to a cat. As stated, no thank you, laid off common ordinary psychology, one might lose the will of life as well. And in this case, a person might make a wrong choice and fails at waiting between life and money, having a wrong idea of what is more valid. And if euthanasia becomes legalized, one might choose the wrong way, facing death, which would not be expected. Would you want that? Yes.
You talked about dementia. Can you please explain what effect that would have on the decisions?
You would lose your memories, or your brain might malfunction in many ways. Would you want this in your life, in your family's life? And we, the opposition, do not want our citizens to face death due to other people's outer pressures, financial problems, loss of will of life due to wrong policy, or a failed choice chosen at the wrong time. Now, as the oppositional whip, I declare the victory of the oppositional side. For this one reason, we are ahead of them in a logical way. They have stated common sense too many times by stating that they want us in a logical way. How ironic. Lastly, we would like to thank the government side for coming and trying desperately to take this debate as theirs, and would like to apologize for having them to waste their time. Again, I declare the opposition victory for today, and hoping that the last day of a person to be respected on the planet will be enjoyed, facing the natural, the common death, not the medical one.
All right. Andy, I'm not going to have you go one more time. I think we have all the information that we need. That sounded very Russian there at the end. It sounded very Russian propagandist. I liked it. That was good. I felt like that was Putin speaking over there. That was good. I liked it.
Russian president.
Would you concur with?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in terms of the debate, which side would we rule this towards? Yeah, same back to government. Again, the team positions are not important, so don't get too excited. Yes. No, we have all that we need for that. Yeah. Thank you, though, Chris. We're also on a bit of a time crunch.
Red?
So why red?
Because you're all gonna die.
One day.
My cousin's
It means like I can't see.
Okay.
Exchange?
Can't see it.
Do you want to exchange?
Okay, uniform exchange.
Just try to see it from my glasses.
You can have my notes.
Feel free to move if you need. Okay, we're gonna start from first place. Listen up, everybody, sit down.
Yes, it.
Except Chris and Jenny. If you need to stand, that's fine. First place, Stephen Teacher. Who got it?
Andy.
Andy, go. Second place, we've had another shift. Second place is going to Joseph. Oh, we need to spin this around. Chris, can you tell me if this is that getting the...
No, it's really tiny.
Okay, that'll
In frame though?
be fine. Third place, who did we have for third place?
John.
In fourth place, we have
A tie.
a tie with
Chris and Tony.
Tony and Chris. In sixth place, who comes next?
Susan.
Susan. After that, we have
Teresa.
Teresa. And then we have a tie in 8th place with
Sarah and Jenny.
Sarah and Jenny. Now I want to point out Susan, that 3-4 weeks ago, you were down here. You've made this progress in just 2 weeks. John, you yourself have moved up considerably in just a couple days. This does not determine your long-term value. So if you're at the bottom, don't worry. If you're at the top, don't celebrate too hard because Andy go. I know these people are gunning for you. I've seen them sleep. I've seen this little bubble above their head about just waiting for that moment that Andy go slips up. Boom! I'm gonna be right there waiting for it. Be careful, Andy. Do not get too excited. Same thing goes for Joseph. Same thing goes for John. Tony, you had a cold today. I think that played in everybody's favor. And that moment that you slipped just a little bit was enough to shift the scales. Chris, this is your first impromptu. We didn't even do this in Alba Plus Plus. And you're up here. Hey guys, all this is looking good. Really, really good work. We're going to do this again next week, so do not feel that this is set. It's happening again next week. Hopefully next week, hopefully you won't have a cold, and hopefully next week I'll divide you guys differently. With 4 teams, we should have the other room, and I'll be switching us around. Teacher will be judging one, I will be judging the other, and we'll be able to watch every team at least twice. So, come prepared next week. Now, no, it's going to be a different topic, and you guys won't know what it is. How can you prepare? Go home and read what I've given you. Prepare ways to deflect POIs when they come in a flurry, like they were coming to Sarah or Susan. POI, POI, POI. Calm down. How do you react in that situation? Those of you who did not offer any POI, Sarah, you've got to get in the game. You will never make it without those. Susan, you're getting your feet wet, but you've got to offer more. Sarah, you've got to accept more as well. Chris, you're pulling your weight. We've got to get our heads in the game. Next week is the final day for all the judging. Show me what you've got, guys. Okay? Good work.